Today we're going to be spectating and reacting to one of the highest KD lobbies in the history of Warzone, and this is from the World Series of Warzone Duos edition. We're going to be following Bbreadman as well as Skullface throughout the entire match, and I'm going to be incorporating all the different POVs of everyone they run into, kind of similar to what we did with the Scump solo YOLO video. If there's another tournament you'd like me to do this for, let me know down in the comment section below so we can make sure we get those done. So pretty much we're going to kind of follow along, and we'll go ahead and kind of see they loot up, they get started, all that normal stuff, and we'll be skimming in because it seems like most people are really interested in the engagements that happen within these matches. So we actually have drifts here on the bottom right, and you can see he's kind of rotating across. They are already tracking him. They do have a UAV in the air while the other team has an advance. He goes to mount up, puts himself in a stationary position, gets taken out by Skullface, which you're going to see a lot of these dynamics because of this duo was super powerful. They're able to stay very close, so they're able to trade out kills. They use vehicles to change angles. One will be in a heli, one in a Bertha, and one is using a sniper to get clean snipes to open up the gunfight and then allow you to close that distance and make it essentially a 2v1. Since the money is so scarce in these types of modes, you end up with scenarios where you're just not able to buy back your teammate, or you just kind of not able to get the self-revive, or there's a lot of variables there where they're able to take advantage of it and move through it. So now he's kind of scouting out where this guy is, Bbreadman is, and we'll go ahead and skip a little bit further ahead. And they run into Unveiled and Queen Biddy in this particular area, and we're going to swap through the POVs as they pop up. You can see that Unveiled on the bottom right, he just took out a tract, I believe, over by the heli. So the guy landed with the heli. He was able to take him out. You can see the Bertha's rotating around the edge. They're moving in. There's like 3 different teams here, and you can kind of see how they get the situation. Look at the mini map of Bbreadman and Skullface. They're almost always attached at the hip because, especially in these types of modes, it's essential that you trade out the kill, and that's what they effectively do. He gets a snipe like I talked about earlier, and then they're able to rotate around, close the distance. He's kind of peeking. They don't know exactly where Queen Biddy is. He's popping up in the heartbeat. Bbreadman's obviously kind of peeking the right, so he has some kind of indications on the right. Skullface goes to go ahead and finish up his kill, comes over, finishes him off, and then we're going to end up with Queen Biddy's POV as they go ahead and work her in this particular situation where she kind of doesn't have all the tools she needs to combat this. They're going to have the high ground. They're going to go ahead and work on team shooting. And these are all phenomenal players. This lobby had a 3.72 KD overall. So the average obviously is within that bounds. Some above, some below, but overall a very, very competitive lobby where everyone knows how to rotate. Everyone knows how to shoot back. Everyone knows how to go for high kills. But obviously in these situations, you play it a little bit differently. So they're going to rotate through, and you can see he's going to kind of take a different angle, trying to get this heli, trying to jump off heli across. Not necessarily going to work out there. The zone does collapse in about a minute, and then they'll go ahead and have to work with that. While they'll know that she is in that building, they know that there's no really way that she could have got around. You can see that Skullface is peeking somebody a little bit further into distance. Doesn't have to do with it. She popped up on the heartbeat sensor. Bbreadman finally makes it to heli. She kind of positioned there, hoping that they'd probably leave her alone, honestly, because she's kind of at the edge of the gas, like, leave me alone. She has a dead silence. He has the height, which is really awkward for gunfights. He blows up the door. She kind of runs around. She has dead silence, so you can't hear her, but he spots her, gets an easy kill, and then it's pretty much done for her. She didn't really get a chance to get involved in the engagement because Bbreadman took the high ground while Skullface is kind of keeping on the alert, and then they're going to use the vehicles for rotation. So they move a little bit further. This one ends up being Spreezy and J Smooth. They end up trying to rotate with the gas, and they kind of get caught by the loadout. They get spotted by Bbreadman. He's starting to lanes down a little bit of fire. And you can see Skullface kind of moving up to this building to get some decent cover, some elevation, and then they're going to be able to team shoot this effectively. And you can see that Bbreadman still has the heli. He's calling them out. And then Skullface is able to clean up that kill. Kind of get involved with the J Smooth. Probably a little bit of bad push to kind of come out here and thirst, but he knows that Bbreadman's coming in with the heli and chops up J Smooth just like that. Unfortunate, but that's what happens when you rotate late with the gas against your back. So he's still able to go ahead, get the loadout, clean that up. Ends up getting Ghost, so he's stocked up with both of his loadout guns, a Gallo for up close. A lot of the keyboard and mouse players tend to stick with the Gallo because it kind of compensates for that lack of aim assist when you get into engagements with controller players, which the vast majority of the lobby is a controller player or are controller players. And that allows us to close that gap a little bit because the Gallo is so broken at point blank. You can't afford to miss shots. So let's go ahead and skip a little bit further. There is a little bit of a gap here. And this is kind of funny one because the vehicles they use to their advantage, they roll up on Aiden and Rated. Aiden is dealing with Smixy down here and their teammate. So there's a lot of third-party action going on. And you kind of use the vehicle to kind of get into the action. You can see on the bottom right, Aiden just got killed by Smixy's group at gas station. Rated's coming back to land on his guns. And then Bbreadman's like, I think I can get an easy kill here. The heli's already basically gone, so there's not really much use in keeping it. He tosses it. No gunfights involved. Obviously, Raid is a little bit pissed off, but that's kind of how it goes in these things. And then his teammate is there with a fresh Bertha. He did mark the dead silence, which we'll see if that's useful later on. But you can kind of see how they're utilizing the vehicles to advantage. So they do have a little bit less mobility now, but at least that heli, even though it was low health, they were able to maximize a kill out of that. You can kind of see how they're rotating in with the Bertha. They've marked another one. So ideally, since that's not a logical spawn, there is a team nearby. And you can see Skullface on the bottom. He's kind of marking the pathing of how they should go, sticking kind of the outskirts so they work all the way around the south side of the map. You can see on the bottom, we have Shifty with Metaphor. We weren't able to get Metaphor's POV. That's one of the 2 POVs we couldn't get out of the 18 we gathered. But he's dealing with the group over here. And again, they're perfectly positioned to get a third party. He has a Gallo set up here, even though he's on controller. And they're kind of just dealing with the vehicle, which ends up being a third party. You can see kind of how they come in. They have a trophy system set up in there. They're coming through. A lot of gunfights going on. Skullface was able to take down Metaphor. And then they're able to work this together as a team because you're able to trade it out if anything goes bad. Now they know that they were still dealing with someone. You can see Skullface is sniping the other guy. The other guy's going to go and try and position. Doesn't really have any plates. And then you're going to see Bbreadman get in this truck and try and work towards them. So he doesn't have any plates. He's trying to avoid them altogether. Kind of stuck here. Really not much they can do. Maybe could have shot the vehicle, but they're so one shot that there's really nothing they can do. Vehicle, easy kill. Third party. Works up, easy situation. Obviously, when you're in these types of tournaments, because it's about a royale, there are certain things that you are just not in your control, and you got to just deal with that. You can see another Bertha getting involved. The vehicles are extremely powerful. Somebody has a riot shield in that vehicle. That might have been OP Mark's crew. I don't know. I know they're probably rocking riot shield later on. You can see they do kind of get in a little bit of a chase here. Not much really happens here for a long stretch of the game. They kind of just disappear, pretend to be quiet, and not get involved. So there's that. Really nothing's happening for this entire stretch of the game. And then we start to get a little bit more action around this area. There is a team finally working fire. Obviously, they didn't do any recons, so they don't have any intel of what's going on with the zone. They just slowly crept up and worked with it. And with the teams kind of collapsing, there's still 24 total teams, the total of 41 players. That is a lot of players in Zone 5, especially with this area. There's a lot of buildings in downtown that you're guessing are going to be congested. They don't have actually a good position to rotate here. Luckily, Bbreadman does have a vehicle. You can see like he's almost kind of baiting shots a little bit, moving around. And you can see Skullface is breaking these windows. You can see that Knight is in the bottom right. He finished plating up. And this is where Knight kind of takes a bad decision here. He ends up peeking this guy down low, and I don't know what he was thinking. He stands perfectly still, gets an easy kill for Skullface, which really wasn't contested. He kind of just peeks out the window, gets shot in the side of the head for free. So a little bit of bad move there. He had position. He probably could have stayed a little bit longer. But the placement, I believe, was top 25. You get placement points. So maybe at that point, he's like, I'm going to try and get a free kill. But he was looking at the wrong guy. So this is the guy that got ran over. They do spot him over here by the little restroom. He ends up getting like a regular pistol plus an EM2, I believe. He gets spotted, and then Skullface hits the clean snipes back to back, and is able to take him out pretty easily. So Skullface overall hit some clean snipes. You can see that Skullface spotted someone down low. Bbreadman's working with them. We have Clamp and Smixy down low, so they kind of have to rotate. They're kind of worried about the vehicles. Bbreadman ends up marking them. They end up taking down Clamp there, and then Smixy comes in, which is a highly top, I mean, also a very good player, plays tons of wagers, competes very well, but it's really hard to compete with the high ground and the way the rocks work. Kind of in a bad situation where they were able to work as a team, and then you can see that Skullface is kind of rotating back, looking at where fire is, and then we're going to end up with another engagement coming up with OP Marked and Devious. Devious, I guess he had some connection issues, splats into the ground after being bought back, and then OP Marked works this area, and they kind of all converge on another little restroom stall area. They marked one down low. It looks like somebody's rotating.
It's just one. It is just one. He's right below me.
So we're peeking it. Oh, this was Repulse. I didn't have his POV. That's one of the that's the other POV of the 20 that I did not have. Him and Metaphors I wasn't able to get. So they were able to take him out, and then we're going to end up with the OP Mark situation. There are some gas nades that also go off on the edge. That ends up being It's Iron, which obviously a lot of people know for winning, and he made it really late game in this match as well. They do have a cluster to work with. You can see somebody's kind of on the edge. And one thing that Bbreadman's really smart at doing, which a lot of players, is they're using the vehicle to use a third-person perspective to manipulate the camera in a way to see more than you could see if you were on ground level. And then obviously the Bertha's hitbox is designed in a weird way where it's very difficult to be hit out of it unless you have a perfectly lined up shot. And even then, it doesn't feel right. So he's kind of a little bait for shots here. He was able to live ping him. I think that is OP Marked. Wasn't able to get any hits there. And then I think Iron rotated across at the same time. So he's saying, let's go to restrooms or bathrooms. There's like nobody there. Still had a good satchel there. Too bad no other extra gas mask in there. They both have a couple ticks gone. So you can see OP Mark just res Devious, so they knew exactly where he was. And then I think Devious gets killed out of the air. He ends up getting sniped by somebody else, Skullface. And this is one thing they're able to do. Since they're so close, they're able to distract, cause diversion, and then they're able to regain. They called in the cluster. OP Mark is just kind of like, oh man, what the heck am I going to do? He sees a Bertha on the outside, works towards it. You can see that Skullface recognizes somebody's on the other building. Bbreadman just called out exactly what OP Mark did, gave a clear call out. You can see he threw a little nade there. OP Mark tries to get to the side. He ends up stunning, I believe, here. He gets stunned. Skullface is basically touching him, comes in. They get the trade out with without both of them dying. And then OP Mark just kind of gets taken out in a 2v1 situation. So very frustrating for him, but he did make it to top 5 there. That's kind of how it ends up going. So here we have It's Iron on the bottom right. And he's trying to work his way. You can see some action going on the left. And this is UAV on the top right. He's just kind of staying passive. If you look at his camera, he ends up spotting like 2 or 3 different people, and he just doesn't fire until Bbreadman's in an engagement, and then he ends up finishing him. And then DJ Moss is over here on the bottom right. He's engaged with him. Skullface ends up third-partying that guy, and it's like, damn, so much is going on. So luckily, he's behind the wall. They're able to get the revive off, and you can see where D-Moss is at. He ends up coming out of the gas. You could kind of already see where Skullface already kind of knew where he was. He's behind the box. He knows, hey, as soon as he goes, he catches him on the rotation and finishes it off with 18 kills. So go and check out Bbreadman and Skullface over on Twitch. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you want to find your way back, subscribe with notifications on. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.